Welcome to another session of Mentoring Moments.
Hi, my name is Shannon Williams, and I am a teacher. I will say this: I am a Christian teacher who teaches in public schools, and I've taught for 14 years. I started off as a teacher assistant. I did that job for about 3 to 4 years, and I really loved working in the classroom, but I wanted to be a teacher. So I furthered my education and I became a teacher. Now I've taught pre K, kindergarten, and second grade. I've also taught third through sixth grade struggling readers. And that leads me to the current position that I'm in now. I teach third through sixth graders who are struggling readers. My position is a reading specialist. So not only do I teach the struggling readers, I also work with the teachers, training them in the area of reading instruction. So I've got a varied job, which I really love. But let me say this: I love teaching, and I have a special passion for providing in services to teachers or trainings to teachers. My goal here in the mentoring moments uh, is to provide advice for pre service teachers, those that are currently enrolled in school, in education classes, with their ambition being a teacher, and also for newly hired teachers that could use some mentoring. So, pre service means that you're currently in school taking education classes, and then the novice teachers are those that probably have been teaching maybe I say 1 to 3 years. The first advice I would give pre service teachers is to take special education classes. The reason why I say that is because when I was in school many moons ago, the state of Illinois only required us to take one special education course. It was called Survey of Special Education. And if I had it to do all over again, I would have taken maybe 2 to 3 classes. I propose that you take at least two, um, because you need to know information about LD students, which are your learning disabled students, which are essentially your slow learners. You need to know about ADD, which is your attention deficit disorder students. And you need to know about ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The reason why you need to know about these students is because these students are always infused not only in special education courses but also in regular education courses, and you need to know how to service these students. It was really puzzling to me as I taught. Every year it seemed like I had more and more students that were in the realm of LD, ADD, or ADHD. And I wonder what's going on. Is it in the food? What's going on? But I had to know how to service these students because I wanted to meet their needs. In fact, I wanted to exceed their needs. So I would say take 2 to 3 special education courses. Um, the next thing I would like to tell you is you want to learn all that you can learn about classroom management. I remember taking education courses, and we didn't have one course that really focused on that. I don't know if things have changed now, but you're going to need to know classroom management. You can be the best teacher, but have poor classroom management, and that would really thwart all of your efforts in teaching. I recommend there's a book. It's called The First Days of School. It's How to Be an Effective Teacher, and it's written by Harry K. Wong and Rosemary T. Wong. It's a very practical guide. It even comes with a CD. So it's a very practical guide about how to set up the classroom management in your classroom. The best thing you want to do is be preventive, have a preventative method where you prevent behaviors from happening. And so you really want to have certain rituals and routines and procedures that are set up that students practice um, when they first enter your classroom, those first days of school, however it takes for them to get it, so that way your classroom can run smoothly. I mean, certain things like what do I do when my pencil breaks? Where do I put my homework? What do I do when I have to go to the restroom? You kind of want it to run smoothly. I remember teaching in pre-K and kindergarten, even second grade, I had hand signals for different things, and so that it wouldn't be interrupted when a student needed to go to the washroom or they needed my attention, or they had an emergency. And so that book would be very helpful for you. Now, let me go back. I hate to jump back and forth, but something just came to mind. Let's go back to taking the special education courses. I remember being a brand new teacher. I started off in pre K, and I had a very good principal. And this principal had a desire to have a fully included school, which meant that she wanted to educate not just the typically developing students, but the atypically developing students as well, which was great. And it was my first year. I remember not having much experience working with the special needs students. And I had a classroom that was typically developing, but I had maybe a couple special needs students that were in my classroom. And so I really had to work hard to see how to meet their need. But I thank God for putting those students in my classroom. I remember, I want to tell a story really quickly. I remember one student in particular. Now, I was a school of just pre K students, and this student, I'll call her Michelle to keep her identity. Michelle was a student in the classroom next door to me, and Michelle was a special needs student. She wore a helmet. She was very big. I mean, to be in the pre-K center, she looked like she was about second grade. She was very chubby, a very beautiful kid. Um, and I remember that she had a one-on-one assistant that was with her at all times. And I remember that this student would be in the hallway all the time. It seemed like she never spent time in her classroom. So at this particular time, a lot of the teachers were complaining about having special needs students in their classrooms, and they would complain at the staff meetings. And I remember I told God, I said, God, I'm going to trust you that every student that enters my classroom to be a student is God ordained. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to trust you to handpick the students that you want in my classroom. I prayed that prayer, and the very next day, the principal knocks at my door and says, Mrs. Williams, can I talk to you? I said, sure. She says, I want to know if we could put Michelle in your classroom. She says, I think she would really thrive in your classroom. Now, I didn't have a lot of experience working with special needs students, but I had made that commitment to the Lord just the day before. So with my knees knocking, my throat a little bit dry, a little nervous stomach, I automatically tell the principal, yes, I will take her. So the principal says, okay, great. I'm going to bring her by tomorrow. She'll start tomorrow. I say, okay, great. So that gave me time to go home and pray even the more. So I went home and I prayed. And I said, Lord, I said, give me the know-how and the wherewithal to meet this student's needs. And I said, she wears a helmet. And I said, I really don't want her to wear that helmet in my classroom because I don't want her to be different from any other student in the classroom. And to me, that just differentiated her immediately. So I said, Lord, please, make it so that when she comes to my class, that helmet will be gone. And just give me, and I had a teacher assistant and her one-on-one. I said, just give it to us how to reach her and show her love and meet her needs and help her excel. So the next day, I said that prayer. The next day, the principal comes to my door, knocks on the door. I open the door, and there is little Michelle. And I shake her hand. I tell her, welcome to the classroom. I gave her a hug. And as soon as she stepped foot over my threshold, she said, helmet off, helmet off. Principal says, oh, she wants her helmet off. She says, well, we got to respect her wishes. I said, great. So took the helmet off. She entered my classroom, never wore the helmet a day in my classroom. The other teacher was a little bit infuriated about it. Her prior teacher, she said, well, she has seizures and she needs that helmet on. She bangs her head. But not one time did she bang her head on the wall in my classroom. And she did have several seizures in my classroom. But before she had them, the Lord would always let me know, or my assistant, or her one on one. And we would just tell her, come on over here to the carpet area, lay down, because the Lord will let us see it coming. And we would call the office for help. And so the student actually thrived in my classroom, and she told me, teacher, I love you. And it melted my heart. And so I think it's so important that pre-service teachers kind of develop that heart towards special students, because they're going to be placed in your classroom. Sometimes they'll have a diagnosis and sometimes they won't, but you have to be prepared. So that's fast forward back to classroom management. So I wanted to share, I shared the title of the book with you about the first days of school. That is a staple for your bookshelf. I recommend that you read that book uh, prior to your first teaching job. And that way, when you do go on interviews, you can even expound, because they're going to ask you, what is your classroom management style? And you can expound on it using principles that you learned in the book. And the book comes with a CD. There's also a website where you can see some videos, awesome testimonies of teachers that have implemented these plans and the great turnaround, and even whole schools that have implemented them. The website is www.teachers.net. Okay? And just to give you an idea of some of the things that you will learn in that book, the three characteristics of an effective teacher are: one, the effective teacher has a positive expectant, or I'm sorry, has positive expectations for student success. And that's all students, because all students can succeed. Students learn differently, they learn at different rates, but it is the educator's job to figure out how to reach each and every student. And I'll tell you, I've seen teachers with low expectations and the students rise to that low expectations. But I've seen teachers like myself that have had high expectations and students rose to that expectation. So it's very important to have a positive expectation of all students. And then secondly, it's extremely important that you have good classroom management. I've seen teachers that were phenomenal teachers, but the classroom management was so poor. The teacher spent all day, every day, dealing with behavior issues, and he or she couldn't teach. So you want to have effective classroom management skills. And then the third thing is that you know how to design lessons for student mastery. And that's important. As you learn your students, you'll see where students are at different levels, and you'll learn how to meet the needs of each student and how to design lessons to meet their needs. So it's those three things that are included in the book. Now, for those that are brand new teachers that are in the field, I would say one of the greatest things that has helped me to be a successful educator, I just won Educator of the Year for my school district, which is Harvey School District 152. I won it this year. I was nominated and selected, which was a great honor for me. And one of the things that has caused me to be successful is, first, I would say, would be my relationship with the Lord, my prayer life. Because you know what? I got a bachelor's and two master's degrees, but I am nothing without the Lord. And I have a humble mentality and a humble attitude. And every time I step foot in a classroom, I come in with a prayerful heart. And I say, God, you allowed me to get these degrees, but they're nothing without you. You know these students better than I do. Show me how to relate to them and show me how to meet and exceed their educational needs. And God has been faithful. So first and foremost, as I would say, would be that relationship with the Lord in that prayer life. And then the Lord has instructed me to always establish that positive relationship with my students. Now, when I taught pre-K, And when I taught kindergarten, that was very easy to establish right off the bat because those two grades are so young. You end up testing the students in the very beginning of school, so you get a chance to meet the parents. Usually before school starts, they have the testing period where the students come in and get tested, and so the parents or the family or the guardian have to bring the students in to be tested, and that's a wonderful opportunity to start setting up a positive rapport with that family and with that student. And I let my families, my parents know right off the bat. I say, you know what, um, your child will excel. I said, but you and I have to have a partnership. And I said, if you're doing everything at home and I'm doing nothing at school, your child will not excel at the rate that they could excel at. And if I'm doing everything at school, but you're not following up at home, it's the same thing. But if we partner together for your child's success, I guarantee you your child will succeed. And so just setting that up in the very beginning, and then usually before, and I'm gonna say this, even before they come in for testing or before that first meeting, I've already sent home a postcard introducing myself just briefly. I'm your new kindergarten teacher, and it's to the child. I'm your new kindergarten teacher. I'm so excited to meet you. Make sure you come to school with a smile. I have a special surprise for you on the first day of school. Sending that postcard home has already given me an inside door, so to speak, to that family. Okay, that child gets it. That child is excited. It's usually their first piece of mail. They're in pre-K or kindergarten. I've even done it for second grade. Um, and so that immediately sets up a rapport. And so when they bring that child in for testing, that door is already open for me to talk with the parent and start setting up that rapport. And that rapport has been very instrumental. So if there are any problems, I'm not just calling home or talking to the parent about something negative. I'll call home and talk to the parent about things that are positive. And for second grade and third grade and even fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, it's been a little bit more challenging to set up that rapport in the beginning, but I do set it up because I'll go to the house if I need to. Like if I'm not able to get through on the phone, and I have a concern that, like one time I had a concern about a student who really wasn't applying themselves, and they were very very bright, and I went and I told them, I said, expect me. I will be at your house after school. And the child did not believe me. Oh my God, when I showed up to the child's house, his mouth just dropped open. And I talked to the parent. I said, I don't want to come in. I didn't call. I said, I just want to talk to you on the porch. And I told him my feelings about the child and did not applying himself and the great potential. And so just those type of visits, parents know that you really do care, and it sets up that relationship. Okay, and I even remember being a student in elementary school, and I learned best from teachers that I thought really cared about me, and so it's the same today. So work hard to establish that positive relationship with the family and also with the child. Now, with the child, I survey my students. I send a survey home, or if they're old enough, I do it in the classroom about what they like, who's in their family, do they like to read, what kind of books do they like to read, what kind of games, what's their favorite TV show, what's their favorite food, just so I can start having these conversations with them. Well, how's your baby sister, or how, so I can start engaging with them and meeting with them on another level, talking to them about their favorite books, even bringing in their favorite books, that type of thing. Okay, so you want to reach out to the family first off. You want to establish that relationship. It's so very, very important. And then once you establish it, work to maintain it. Again, calling home not just when something's wrong, but when something's right. Um, and then the children, the students will know that you care, and they'll be able to relate to you on a different level. You'll have a relationship with them that perhaps uh, other adults in the school don't have, just because they know that you care. You know about their family. You ask them about their family. Did they have a good weekend? What did they do that weekend, etc. Okay? So maintaining that relationship, how I do it, some ideas. Keeping a school or a classroom newsletter where I try to let the parents know what we're studying in the classroom. I always try to have something alive in my room, whether it's caterpillars, we're watching them turn into butterflies, or tadpoles changing into frogs, or one year we had an ant farm, another year I had a worm farm. I've had birds in my room. Something live to keep the kids excited about learning. That helps. And then letting the parents know what you're doing so that they can engage in conversations with their child. Oh, you all are doing this, so tell me about that. Um, so that's a good way to keep them abreast of and to keep that good family, school, home connection, which helps and aids in education. And I would say, as a new teacher, kind of look around and see the good educators that are in your building. And when you have your teacher planning time, I would recommend that if you could talk to them and ask them if you could come and watch them in their classroom during your planning time, just observe. You'll learn so much just from observing other teachers. One teacher I saw, she could leave her classroom. She taught fourth grade. I watched her. She left her classroom standing in a line at the office, and she walked about 5 classroom doors down and talked to another teacher, and her back was turned. And those kids, those fourth grade students, stood in that line, didn't say a word. I was amazed. I'm like, oh, talking about good classroom management. Her back is turned. Those kids are still doing the right thing. And so just observing her and talking to her, I got some tools to use, some tricks and tools of the trade to use with kids that would help them. Um, that would help with my classroom management, and that would help them do the right thing, even when my back was turned. So I thought that was really cool. Just talking to some of the seasoned teachers and watching them, you will gather a lot of good information. So I just encourage you um, to stay strong and keep focused. Focus on your students and on meeting and exceeding their needs. Focus on increasing your craft, because we as teachers, we're lifelong learners. We always get ideas from other teachers. Um, and just put your best foot forward every day. Make sure your classroom management is solid. Um, and your year will be good. If your classroom management isn't solid, your year will be rough. If your relationships with your students are not solid, your year will be rough. If they're not solid with your parents, your year will be a rough year. So just hold fast. These principles have helped me along the way. When I taught pre-K, I was one of I was a teacher, and then I had a teacher assistant. So the ratio was 10 to 1, and I had 20 students. But then when I went to kindergarten, I was the only person in the classroom, and I had 28 students. And so I had to have very good classroom management for the class to run smooth. And my students left me reading. And kindergarten, a lot of teachers won't teach kindergarten because they say you're starting off with a blank slate. I won't say it's a blank slate, because I had kids that were homeschooled. I had kids that had gone to daycare, pre-K, and then I had some kids that had never seen the inside of a school building. One time I had a kid that didn't know what a crayon was. So you get them you get them in at different learning levels, but my goal was to equal the playing field. That by the time they left, they would all be on one accord as far as their skills that they needed to have for first grade. So I just want to encourage you, keep listening. I will have some more tips on the next time, and just continue to be encouraged.
Or comments for Mrs. Shannon Williams, be sure to send us a note at toc14@gmail.com, and we look forward to hearing from you and hosting another mentoring moment session. God bless.